Good afternoon, everybody. Today we will look at overheads and absorption costing. So, if you remember, our argument was that direct cost, including material, labor, or it's classified as a variable cost, as we mentioned. Most of the direct costs are variable costs, such as direct material, direct labor. All of them can be easily calculated per unit. So we can calculate per unit the direct cost, including material, labor, or any direct expenses. However, when it comes to indirect cost or overheads, we agreed that it's not easy to decide how much overhead should be allocated to each unit produced, right? If you remember, we mentioned that it's really difficult, such as rent. It's difficult to allocate, to absorb the rent and allocate it to each unit. It's really difficult because we did mention if we pay rent £1,000 a day, and in the factory we are producing more than one product, 1,000 units, for instance. So you cannot simply say £1,000 divided by 1,000 units equal £1 per unit. No, it doesn't work like this. Why? Because in the factory we producing more than one unit, and this more than one units from different products. Is not only one product. If it all were the same product, that's fine, easy. But each product has a different cost, has a different price. Some products takes 10 seconds to produce, some takes 1 minute to produce, etc. And that's the problem here. So it's easy as for the manager to identify the cost per unit, including material, labor. That's easy, there's no problem. But however, the problem comes with the overhead indirect costs. How can we absorb the overhead, including rent, salaries, electricity? How can we absorb them into the units? It's not easy, it's not simple. So today we will look at method which can help us to do this, and it's called absorption costing. So absorption costing, it's a method to spread the indirect cost, which is the overhead. When I say overhead, I mean indirect cost, or another term for it is fixed cost, over the units produced in the fairest way possible, right? Remember, in the fairest way possible, right? Here we go. Let's have a look. If you look here, you can see the cost center, which is the department where the manager is responsible for all the costs. That's very simple definition for the cost center. Now, we have to follow 3 steps when it comes to question absorption costing. So we have to follow 3 steps. Okay, the first step is the overhead allocation, second, overhead apportionment, and the third one, the overhead absorption, or we call it the OAR, overhead absorption rate. Right? Now, let's go step by step so you can understand this method. Okay, the first one is the overhead allocation. Very simple, very easy in a way that overheads are allocated to the departments that cause them, right? What really caused them, we allocated them. For example, if we talk about a factory rent, right? There is a factory and we pay rent. So this rent caused by which department from the following? Production department, where they really produce they manufacture the products, sales department, or administration department, right? Just use your logic sense. You will say, oh, of course, that factory rent caused by production department because we pay rent for the factory because we are producing there. Perfect, right? So can you see now you match the factory rent with what? You match it with the production department. Let's have a look at the petrol for salesman car, right? Can you see here? It's related more to what? To sales departments there. And the accountant salary, of course, is related to administration departments. So can you see the first step, which again overhead allocated to what? To the departments that caused them there. Okay. The second step we will look at is the overhead approachment. Right. So what do I mean by overhead approachment? Okay, let's have a look. What is the basis? What is the basis for this overhead? Right, what is the basis? Let's have a look. If we have a factory, right guys, this is a factory, yeah, okay, and the factory here is divided into two departments, two production departments, Department A, Department B. Department A has 70% of the ground, of the floor, 70%, so they occupy 70%, and Department B, they occupy 30% of the factory. Now, when it comes to electricity, so it comes one bill for the electricity, and it comes to be £1,000. Okay? So the question you need to ask yourself, is it fair for Department A to pay £500 as Department B? Is it fair? So you see £1,000 divided by 2, because two departments, so each pay £500. Is it fair? So now you need to ask me, okay, what's that? But anyway, it's one company, and it's all under one expenses and one profit and one operation. That's absolutely fine. I agree with you, yeah. But when it comes to the management accounting, when it comes to this topic, so we are breaking down the cost. So each department is responsible for its own cost. Right, remember this. And the Department A has its own budget, and they pay its own cost. Right? So now, of course, you would say, oh, of course, it's not fair. Why? Because they simply it can't be Department A pay 500 as Department B. Why? Because Department A they have more, isn't it? They have more space, because they occupy 70% of the factory, isn't it? So now you need to think, right? You need to think. Total electricity bill, that's £1,000, yeah? In which basis you think is the fair to allocate the £1,000? So think about it, right? Very logic to think about that. You will tell me, of course, that's because floor area of building, yeah. Count how many floor area, the size of floor area, how many square meters, right? And try to apportion. Yeah, what does that mean? Try to do the proportion. Yeah, take the proportion, 70%. What is the floor area of this 70%? And allocate the cost 70% to the Department A. That's the fair. Is it fair? Fair, yeah. So we'll come on practice in a bit. So, another example, supervisor salary, who manage sales and production. So as you know, one of the also overheads or indirect costs is salaries, supervisor salaries, because we did say that supervisor salary is not influenced by production. Yeah, because if I'm the supervisor of this factory, I get paid, isn't it? I get paid regardless if there's a production or there is no production. I still get paid, right? I'm not talking about labor or wages. I'm talking about salaries. Labor and wages are what are variable costs, are related to the units produced. But salaries is a fixed cost, as overhead is not related. So now if I get, for instance, I manage two departments, which is the sales department and the production department myself, okay? And I get paid in a year £100,000, right? Agree? So now, what is the fair, right? So would the sales department pay £50,000 and the production department pay £50,000, yet contribute to my salary? Is it fair? Again, it's not fair. Why? It's not fair. Of course it's not fair. Why? Because you need to find a basis. You need to find what? A basis, right? One of the bases could be what? Number of employees in each department, right? If there is more number of employees in each department, this means I spend more time there, because if you have more number of employees, this means you spend more time there to manage them, right? That's one of the things, right? So one of the bases is number of employees. Could be another basis if you need to think, for example, the time spent in each department, right? If I spend more time there, if I spend 75% in production department, this means that the production department should contribute to my salary by £75,000 because I spent around 75% there of my time. Same with this. With sales department, they contribute 25%. Again, guys, step 2A, it comes to the bases, right? And there's a lot of bases around, so it just, you need to use your logic sense, right? So for example, if we talk about depreciation, the basis is net book value. That's one of the bases there, right? Okay, now we'll come to step 2B. Now step 1, fine. Step 2A, fine. Now we come to the step 2B, right? So when it comes to step 2B, look, when all overheads have been allocated to cost centers, right? So after you allocate all the overheads across the departments, so what you need to do, because in departments we have production departments and we have also non-production departments, service departments, yeah? So after first we allocate all the overhead costs across all the departments together, what we need to do, we need to allocate the non-production department, which is the services departments, we need to allocate them to production departments or production cost centers. So non-production departments such as sales, administration, and production departments such as cutting and finishing. Yeah, so this is what you look like this, guys. Yeah, that's what you look like. Confusing.com, isn't it? Right, I agree with you, right? So now, so in order to understand, so let's jump to the practice part. Right, so this question, if you look at this question, you will see that this question has 4 departments, okay? And as you see, we have department 1 and 2, and department 1 and 2 are classified as production departments. Can you see? Okay. And also we have 2 non-production departments or service departments. We call them maintenance and canteen. So far we have 2 production departments and 2 non-production departments. So, and the overheads are included, which is the indirect labor, consumables, heating, rent, depreciation, supervision, power. So these all are classified as overheads or indirect cost. So far we know that we have 2 production departments, 2 non-production departments. So far we know that we have 7 overheads, and what's missing? The only missing is the basis, and the basis, you can see it at the bottom of the question, including floor area, net book value, number of employees, and kilowatt hours. These we call them the basis. Okay, right. So what's our job, guys? What's our job, right? Can you see the overheads there? Starts from indirect labor. So the total indirect labor is £170,000, right? So this total overhead, right? What we need to do with it? We need to divide it, not divide it, to distribute it, to allocate it across each department, the 4 departments, as you see. So of course you cannot say, oh, £170,000 divided by 4, here we go. No, that's not the case, right? So we need to use the basis at the bottom, we need to pick up a basis at the bottom in order to what? In order to allocate the overheads, right? So far we are lucky in this question because the question has allocated two of the overheads, including the indirect labor and the consumables. Can you see? So indirect labor, £170,000, and it's been allocated. Consumables, 41,000 is being distributed. Right? Easy, isn't it? So what you need to do with these, you just copy paste them. You just copy paste them into the answers. Let's have a look at the answers. Right, when it comes to a question like this, my recommendation, right? So what you need to do, you need to start doing it like this. First of all, the first column, you need to start doing it, name it overheads. The second, name it basis. The third, name it total. And then the first three columns are fixed in any question. And after that, you need to list the production departments first and then the services departments, right? So far we have department 1, department 2, maintenance and canteen, right? So now let's start with the first one. And the first overhead, if you remember, it's what is the indirect labor, and the basis is allocated. Why it's allocated? Because the question allocated for us this, so it's easy, yeah? So the total £170,000, and again what we did say, you just need to copy paste the numbers, including indirect labor, including consumables, which we did here. Look, easy, easy, nothing really to worry about, isn't it? Absolutely nothing, right? So now we have no problems there because we allocated, or not allocated actually, it's been allocated, so we just copy pasted. Easy. Right, now let's come to the third one. The third one is the heating, right? So we agreed that the first one is the heating there, right? So now, and the total is £12,000, as you see, right? So our job is to allocate the overhead, which is £12,000, across the 4 departments. The question you need to ask yourself, how to allocate it? How to allocate it? So in order to allocate it, you must use one of the bases below. So do you think, logic sense, right? Which is the first, the first, I would say, the logical basis we can use here? Floor space, net book value, number of employees, or kilowatt hours? Of course you would say heating related more to what? To floor space area, to square meters, isn't it? Yeah, in this case you pick up the basis for floor space, right? And what is the total for floor space? Is £30,000. 30,000. So far, as you see, we've got heating, floor space, and the total £12,000. So now £12,000 we need to allocate it across the 4 departments. How we can allocate it? Let's have a look. This is a math skills, really, not accounting, math skills. Have a look. Have a look at floor space. What is the department 1 floor space? 10,000. Yeah. And what is the total overall for floor space? 30,000. So if you divide 10,000 divided by 30,000, again 10,000 divided by 30,000, then you multiply by what? You multiply by the total cost of heating, which is £12,000. So if you do this, you should be able to find the answer is £4,000. It's £4,000 for department 1. For department 1. And you just need to do it with department 2 and maintenance and canteen. Is the same technique, right? Department 2, 12,000 divided by 30,000 times the 12,000. Maintenance 5,000 divided by 30,000 times 12,000, and canteen 3,000 divided by 30,000 times 12,000. Look, done. Easy. Yeah. Number 4. We've got rent. Again, when it comes to rent and raise, the total 12,000. Fine, no problem. So what do you think the best basis can match rent and raise? Of course, you would say, because when it comes to rent, we talk about more about floor space, isn't it? About floor space. So I would say, yes, it's a floor space. Yeah, it's floor space again. And what you need to do, guys, you need to do it absolutely the same. 10 divided by 30, but now you multiply by 18,000 because the total cost of rent of 18,000. And this is exactly the way how you do it. So when you allocate it across the 4 departments, and this is the how you allocated them, including 6,000, 7,200, 3,000, and 1,800. Fine. Next overhead we have here in the question, depreciation, equal 30,000. So again, if you look at the bases, what do you think the best one can match depreciation? So straight away you would tell me, oh, of course, that's net book value. And BV, net book value, yeah? And again, if you look at net book value, you will see the total £300,000. So what you need to do, you just need to use the same math technique, which is 150,000 divided by 300,000, then you multiply by the total depreciation of 30,000. Done. Department 2, 120,000 divided by 300,000 times 30,000. Maintenance, canteen is the same, right? It's the same, and this is the answers here for the depreciation. So we allocated the £30,000 across the 4 departments. The next overhead we have in the question is the supervision salary. Supervision salary. So when it comes to total salaries across the 4 departments is £24,000. Again, what do you think is the most really I mean the best basis you can pick up from below here? Of course, if you want to match it, you would say, of course, number of employees, yeah, because if I manage the 4 departments, right, so I'm gonna look at number of employees, because if there are more employees in specific department, this means I spend more time there in that departments. Okay, and again, this is basis. It's not the theory. It's not the it's not what's called law. It's not a rule. It's a logic, right, behind, yeah. And it's up to the business. They can pick up any basis. There are various bases. So a business can pick up number of employees. Some business can pick up another basis, right? But in the question, of course, you would say number of employees. So again, what you need to do, you just need to do the same math skills, which is 40, department 1, 40 employees, divided by 80 employees, then you need to multiply by £24,000. Department 2, maintenance canteen is the same. And these are the answers for supervision. As you see, canteen, nothing. We have nothing in canteen in terms of supervision. Why? Because if you look at the question, you will see that when it comes to number of employees, we have 0 employees in canteen. So we don't manage anything in the canteen. So it's nothing. You don't allocate anything there. The last depreciation we have is the power. The power. Power, when I say power, could be to do with the machine power, right? When we turn on the machines. And the total cost is 20,000. And again, if you want to pick up one from below the bases, you would say, of course, that related more to what? To kilowatt hours. Yeah. And what we need to do, guys, the same math technique, which is 4,500 divided by total kilowatt hours, 10,000, then you multiply by £20,000. So this is the way how you do it, kilowatt hours. So far, as you see, what we did, we allocated all the overheads across all the departments, including the production departments and also the non-production departments. So what you need to do right now, you need to find the total. And as you see, Department 1, the first production department, is £118,000. Remember this. Department 2, the second production department, is £127,000. Total maintenance so far £40,000, and the canteen is £30,000. And this is step 2A. Step 2A. I hope you have no questions. Straightforward math skills. You should be able to do it. So now we will jump to step 2B. Step 2B. Now when it comes to step 2B, if you go back and read it, look what you can read here. When all overheads have been allocated to cost centers, we've done it right now, yeah? We allocate all the overheads, we allocated them to cost centers. We've done it, we finished with this, yeah? So what we need to do right now, allocate FOOs of non-production departments. So we need to allocate the total of non-production departments to what production departments. So let's have a look. Can you see here the total the total maintenance or total canteen, isn't it? Total canteen £30,000, right? So this £30,000 we need to allocate it, right, across the other 3 departments, and the maintenance total we need to allocate it across the production department. So at the end of step 2B, that the total maintenance and the total canteen must equal 0, because we need to reallocate them to other departments. So according to step 2B, the total maintenance and the total canteen must equal 0. Let's have a look. So this is more information comes from the question. Again, this is information available right now. It's a question. It's from the question. Yeah. Okay. So I made it up here. So what it tells you here. So we need to focus on what overhead the first paragraph. The question tells you that the total canteen overheads are then reapportioned to the other departments on the basis of the number of employees. Okay, so what it's trying to tell you here, that the total canteen, which is the £30,000, which is the £30,000, so we need to reapportion it, right, across what? Across the other departments. When the question tells you the other departments, that's including Department 1, Department 2, and the maintenance. So £30,000 we need to redistribute it across the 3 departments. Okay, great. How to do it? Which basis we're gonna use? We're gonna use in terms of number of employees. As you see, basis of what? Of number of employees. Have a look. So far we have this question, yeah? Okay. Now, canteen, the basis is number of employees, and if you look, the total canteen is £30,000. The total canteen is what? Is £30,000. So how to distribute £30,000 across Department 1, Department 2, and the maintenance? So we need to allocate them based off number of employees, right? In this case, what we need to do, we need to go back and find out the number of employees. If you look at the question, okay, can you see number of employees? We have 40, 30, and 10. 40, 30, and 10. So Department 1, you divide 40 divided by 80, and then Department 2, 30 divided by 80, and maintenance 10 divided by 80. And after you divide them all, what you need to do, you multiply it by what? you multiply it by the total canteen cost, which is what? Which is £30,000, which is £30,000. And these are the numbers. So at the end, as you see, the total canteen will be bracket 30,000, that's minus 30,000. This means that total canteen cost equals 0. Why? Because we redistribute the £30,000 across the 3 departments based on number of employees. So we've done this, fine. So according to step 2b, we also need to do the maintenance. Why? Because it does tell you all the non-production departments. So we finished from canteen, we've left maintenance. The total maintenance is 40,000 plus the 3,750. So the total canteen cost equal now £43,750. So we need some information. So here we go. This is the information available. What it tells you here, the maintenance department apportions costs to department 1 and department 2, right? So it does tell you that total maintenance goes to department 1, department 2 in the ratio of 75.15%. That 57.15% goes to department 1 and 42.85% goes to department 2. Goes what? To department 2. So very simple. So you need to find out the total maintenance cost, which is, if you remember, it was £43,750. So you need to multiply it by 57.15%, and that goes to department 1, and also you need to multiply it by 42.85%, and this goes to department 2. Here we go. So maintenance, the basis rate given in the question, and as you see, so the £43,750, so it's been reallocated based on the rate given in the question, 42.85% and 57.15%. And at the end of the day, as you see, the total canteen equals 0 now, isn't it? It's equals 0. So step 2b finished, right? Why finished? Because now total the total cost of service department is 0. So at the end of step 2b, what we need to do, guys, you need to add or total all the department 1 and all department 2, and this is the final figure for department 1. Remember this figure, £158,000. So this is the department 1 cost, and for department 2 is £157,000. We finish step 2b. Now we will come to the last step, is step 3, which is the overhead absorption. Now when it comes to overhead absorption, the step 3, it does involve absorbing the indirect cost, which is the 158,000. So we need to absorb it into the cost of production of each unit, okay? How we can do this? So we need to calculate something called OAR, which is called overhead absorption rate, OAR, okay? So how to do this? Let's have a look. We have 3 ways. The first one, we could do it through number of units, number of labor hours, and number of machine hours. Let's have a look at number of units. Number of units, the formula which you need to follow, it's the total overhead cost divided by number of units, So if you look at this, you can see the overhead cost is £150,000, and the number of units made, £50,000. If you divide it, that's £3 per unit. £3 per unit. Again, right? Again, guys, the only this units of output, the only way we apply it in one condition, that all the units must be from one product. All these are similar. If you were gonna divide by divided by number of units. So all of them are apples, all of them are bananas. So you cannot divide by apples and bananas from only one product. Remember this. The second method is number of labor hours. Number of labor hours. So one of the methods, which is overhead divided by number of labor hours. So the overhead cost is 400,000 divided by number of labor hours. So if you look at the question, you can see that number of labor hours is 40,000 labor hours. So why? Because we have 50 employees and each worked for 800 hours. So that's easy, isn't it? So 50 times 800 equals 40,000 total labor hours in total. So that's £10 per labor hour. £10 per labor hour. And the third one is number of machine hour. So again, for number of machine hours is the total cost overhead, which is 400,000, and number of machine hours equal 20,000. So again, if you divide it, that's £20 per machine hour. So the question you need to understand, right? £20 per machine hour or £10 per labor hour, it doesn't mean we pay labor £10 per labor hour. It doesn't mean we pay £20 per machine hour. It doesn't mean like this, yeah? We use the labor hours or machine hours as a method to what? To absorb the total overhead cost into the units, right? We use machine hours because maybe we use more machine hours. We use labor hours because we use more labor hours. Yeah, this is only the way to absorb the overhead. We absorb the overhead, including the rent and the salaries, into the units. Now let's come back to our equation. As there's more information available here. More information available in the question. Let's have a look at the information. We have department 1, let's call it bottling department, yeah? Because we said department 1, department 2 are productions, let's call it bottling department. And at the bottling department, as you see, we have 10,000 labor hours and we have 16,000 machine hours. So as you see, bottling department is more to do with machine hours. So you can see that machine hours are more used there. When it comes to department 2, which is call it the mixing department, so you can see that's 22,000 labor hours are used there. On the other hand, 15,000 machine hours. So as you see, mixing department is more to do with labor hours. And the question here asks you to calculate the OAR, which is the overhead absorption rate, for each of the two production cost centers, including the bottling and the mixing, assuming what? Assuming that the bottling department is what? Is dominated by machinery. Yes, because 16,000 machine hours, more than 10,000, true. And the mixing department is a labor intensive process. And again, that's true. Why? Because if you look at labor, you will see 20,000 labor hours compared to 15,000 machine hours for mixing department. So of course is more labor. From this basis, right, when you calculate step 3, right, so you can pick up yourself, you can pick up one of the three methods. Number of units, number of labor hours, number of machine hours. And of course, number of units you excluded straight away. Why? Because we did say number of units is only valid if it was only one product. All the units are the same. Not the case. So here we left by two methods, number of machine hours and number of labor hours. And of course we need to use both of them. So but for department 1, which is the bottling department, we use now number of machine hours because there's more machine hours used. However, for mixing department we use more labor hours. So in this case we are gonna rely on the labor hours. So here we go. Just you need to apply the formula, which is, if you remember the formula, the total for department 1, the total overhead cost for department 1, if you go back to the answers at the end, you'll see £158,000. You just divide it by number of machine hours, 16,000 machine hours. For mixing, It was, if you remember, Department 2, £157,000, and you need to divide by labor hours, 22,000 labor hours. So in this case, you find for bottling is £9.875 per machine hour, and the mixing is £7.136 per labor hour. So again, this doesn't mean that they pay £9.875 per machine hour. This doesn't mean they pay labor £7.136. Again, we use them for the sake to absorb the overhead cost, the fixed cost. We use number of machine hours or number of labor hours. So this is one of the questions for you to practice. As one of the questions for you practice. It's just very simple, straightforward. Just you need to allocate really the overheads, and after you practice it, I would recommend you do not look at the answers, please. So after you practice it, then you can go look at the answers and check your answers and see where did you go wrong. Yeah. Any question, guys? Let me know. I know some students don't like it because it's a lot of math involved. However, really, if you follow the 3 steps logically, you should be able to find this lecture is straightforward and easy. So remember this: the key to watch again, to reflect and practice. This is the key. Do not jump to the seminar question before watch the lecture recording. Okay, so that's from me. So that's the end of the lecture. So thank you very much. Have a lovely day. Take care, guys. Bye.